Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Carl Tart.
I'm Jackie's Neal.
And I'm Edgar Mobley's here.
And we are the host of a new show called Culture Kings on How Stuff Works. We cover a whole range of topics on this show, but one of the things that we talk about the most is sports because we love them. Jackie, what's the sports opinion you have?
The Cubs are the best team of all time.
That's ridiculous. Edgar?
Kevin Durant is the greatest player of all time.
Nonsense. My favorite basketball player is LeBron James. He's the king of the world, and we'll get into that on Culture Kings. Download it wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere. Just listen to it, damn it.
I'm not going to lie to you. That's the music I needed this morning. Little peppy, happy, get us going here. Good Thursday morning. Glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here. I've got my sexy voice.
Yes, you do. You got that cold working, so you got the voice down. You got a long day today. You get to do, are you calling it? Is it a Sports Center special?
I don't know.
What are you allowed to call it anymore?
Coming on tonight, 8 o'clock.
A couple hours, so we get to find out the schedule, which, I know everybody is always all in on. There's some actually news with the NFL that I like even more than that.
Which we will get into.
We'll certainly get into. But I'm going to tell you this. I would love, and I can't remember at any time in my life, maybe when I was wrestling and I was wrestling against somebody who you knew wasn't very good, where I could go out and knew I could kind of have my way. But that's in a small wrestling match. Would have liked to have been, as a professional or big-time player, go out in a game and just say, you know what? I'm just going to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be LeBron and just say, you know what? I'm just going to go take control of this game early on.
And there ain't nothing you can do about it.
Not one thing any of you can really do to stop me.
I would like to be able to do that in any facet of my life. Like, there's no area in my existence.
I kind of think you did this morning, by the way. As I was coming in, listening first and last, before Golic and Wingo came on, I thought you dominated today.
You know what?
Poper Fire.
Poper Fire is a good one. Word to Will Kane on that one. We'll maybe hear eventually how we got to that. But yeah, stole Poper Fire from Will Kane inadvertently. But even with that, like, if one of my bosses decides that they don't like Poper Fire, I get squashed on that, and I lose that battle because I'm not LeBron James, and I don't get to go out there and steamroll my way to the hoop and get to 16 points faster than anyone in playoff history and all that stuff. I mean, there's a different level that exists for this guy that us mere mortals can't touch.
Well, listen, I've got my Tom Thibodeau voice going, so I'm very excited about that. So let's get going. But again, if you didn't catch it, we'll talk about it later. Poper Fire will be the game show that sweeps Radio Nation today.
It's time for Off the Top.
Whether you like it or not, it's just beginning.
With Golic and Wingo.
All right, let's get to Off the Top. It's brought to you by Samsung. It's a great time to let go with the Samsung Spring for Something New event. Upgrade and save on the latest Samsung appliances. Stop at your local retailers or Samsung.com. And you know who could have stopped at Samsung and gotten whatever he wanted last night? That would be LeBron James. Because the Cavs beat the Pacers 197. They evened the series at one game apiece because LeBron apparently was coachable. What did Ty Lue say? Go out there and do stuff, and he did stuff.
Yeah, he did stuff, but he says that's not the reason he did stuff. He said that was Coach Lue, that wasn't me. I just play the game the way I play the game. Blah, 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 whatever. We all saw this coming. Everybody knew this narrative, even from the first game narrative of when he likes to get other people involved, and it didn't work because they missed shots, so you knew he was going to take charge, and that's what he did. And there's all kind of numbers associated with this. You know, he outscored the Pacers alone 20-18 in the first quarter as they took a 33-18 to lead. It's ridiculous what he did. All that said, Mike, they led the entire game, but the lead was down to 3 late in that game. Kevin Love played well, then got his thumb bent back, which we're going to talk about. Didn't play for the last.
Looked terrible.
It did look bad. X-rays were negative, and it was his non-shooting hand, which is good, but it looked bad. Kyle Korver hit some shots, but nobody else did. LeBron went off out of his mind, and it was a game late. If I'm the Pacers, I'm going back to Indiana saying, you know what? Feel pretty good about our chances going back home.
They're the better basketball team. They're the better basketball team in pretty much every other facet. And it's easy to say that the Cavaliers won this on the strength of just LeBron James' sheer force of will. But they also won on the fact that Victor Oladipo just wasn't on the court for most of the first half because of foul trouble. And when you saw the way that he was just so effortlessly getting whatever he wanted in the second half, you realize even with everything LeBron James did, if Victor Oladipo just doesn't get a couple of silly fouls in the first couple minutes of this game, I'm not sure Indiana doesn't win last night and go back up 2-0 in this series. They're so far the better basketball team that for the first time, I might doubt LeBron James and the Cavs.
I'm a Cavalier fan, obviously, being from Cleveland. I think they're going to make it to the finals, but I'm not kidding, Trey. At the end of that game, I was just like, Wow. I have some doubts with this one.
Well, look, there has to be somebody else besides LeBron James to do things like LeBron James. Not at the same level, but there needs to be more of a contribution from somebody else. And clearly, that was the thing that was not missing or was missing last night. Again, as you said, he scored those 16 points in the first 5 minutes, the most points in the first 5 minutes of any player in the last 20 postseasons. And it was down. Now, the three at the end looks a little different because they hit it. It was a 6-point game when they hit a three at the end of it, but it got close and a lot closer than anybody in Cleveland wanted it to be, considering how well that game started for them.
Off the top.
Staying in the NBA, the Jazz beat the Thunder 102-95 to even their series at 1 game apiece. Donovan Mitchell has scored 55 points in his first 2 playoff games, passing a guy named Michael Jordan for the most by a rookie guard in the last 50 seasons.
Yeah, it's 5th overall as far as a rookie in the first 2 playoff games, but the name above them are, the David Robinsons, Wilt Chamberlains, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's, the big men of the league, and not this guard. He was absolutely on fire, and on fire late. That was the key because who wasn't on fire late? Anybody from Oklahoma City in the Big Three. In the first game, the Big Three scored 80 points. In the second game, last night, they scored 54 total. All 3 of them 0 for 14 in the fourth quarter as Donovan Mitchell was going off. And it's got me choked up.
Wow, I know how you feel. It's working its way down the table right here. I need you guys to stay the hell away from me. Appreciate that. But Oklahoma City's Big Three outdueled by the Big Three of the Utah Jazz, which includes Donovan Mitchell, Derek Favors, and wait for it, Ricky Bleepin' Rubio.
How about that,
Rubio,
right?
Ricky Man-Bun Rubio, by the way. I nominate Ricky Rubio and JJ Redick for the ultimate transformations. When did they both decide to just go out one night, get wasted, and tat their entire bodies? Both of these guys tattooed and overhauled the image, and it appears to have worked. 22 points for Ricky Rubio last night. Favors was an animal on the board. 8 offensive rebounds for them. Those guys really helped carry this team as much or more as Donovan Mitchell.
Maybe as far as the tattoos, maybe the same night you did that.
I was about to say, who has more tattoos? Either one of them or you?
Yeah.
I mean, at least mine was a gradual progression. I feel like I looked up one night, JJ Redick's got a whole sleeve, and Ricky Rubio's like a new person. I don't know what's going on.
I think you're just jealous because Rubio still has the flowing locks. I mean, he got the man bun, the whole deal.
He went from shaggy Minnesota Timberwolves, Ricky Rubio, now all of a sudden to this man bun. It's much more of a modern look. He's really adjusted to the times well.
Looks like a Bichon Francais or something like that. Looks like a little poodle out there. Hey, but you know what? It was working.
Yeah,
and again, not only did the Big Three for Oklahoma go 0 for 14 from the floor, they only had 2 points.
Yep.
Those 3 guys, if you put those 3 equals 2 in the fourth, no bueno if you're Oklahoma City.
Off the top.
Well, this is interesting. The headline on one of the headlines on ESPN.com said, James Harden's amazing defense makes up for his bad night shooting. I don't know about that. But he went 2 of 18 from the floor, and the Rockets still beat the Timberwolves 102-82.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's going to, confuse it for Gary Payton and call him the glove or anything like that just yet. But they have played defense better this year.
And he has as well.
We'll give them that. And they do what they do. 52 3-point attempts. 52 of them. That is the Houston Rockets in a nutshell. As far as Minnesota's concerned, listen, after the first quarter, they're winning this game by 5. The rest of the game, they got scored 84-59. Karl Anthony Towns, 2 games now in single digits. Not really coming to the table just yet for his first playoff appearances.
James Harden, after the game, talked about having better players around him that helped buoy him through a bad night. You could just stop with that. Houston's just got better players. They're a better team across the board. They're better coached. It's a better system. And that's apparent. You're reminded in the NBA because you look up here and it seems futile right now for the Timberwolves. To your point, that lead got erased like it was nothing.
Yeah, it did.
Last night. And you feel like that's what's going to happen going forward because like we talked about with San Antonio and with Golden State, you just see in the NBA, the talent is so consistent year to year and so reliable and predictable that how else can we look at the series other than just saying Houston's just flat out better than Minnesota and they're consistent enough to impose that night in and night out?
What have we said all regular season, though, about James Harden? Yeah, but, right? Let's see what happens in the postseason. So knowing that was sort of the benchmark for him, where is your level of concern after he says he's not worried, but 2 of 18.
You know what? I think those will be far and few between, and you have the guy named Chris Paul who pours in 27 and help make up for the difference. Did you see that floater he
put in that went 40 feet in the air? It was ridiculous.
It was impressive.
It was absolutely ridiculous. The only concern I have, if you're a Rockets fan, is like, Yeah, we've seen this from Harden before in the postseason. And we can't have that again if we want to get to where we want to get to.
Off the top.
As we continue off the top, give me the good stuff, baby. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The NFL is going to release the entire 2018 schedule Thursday night, 8 Eastern, on NFL.com. And, of course, here at ESPN, we'll have the 2-hour schedule release. We're looking forward to that. I'll be manning the ship there. The 2018 NFL regular season begins on Thursday, September 6th. Concludes on Sunday, December 30th. And that's the interesting thing. No games into January this year.
Right. And the one thing from a player side of it, when a player looks at a schedule, obviously you know who you're playing within your division.
Bye week.
You look at the schedule, it's exactly right. You look when your bye week is, you look at the other teams you're playing, because the first thing you think about is your individual matchup. You know, as a D lineman, I'm like, who are the guards and center on that team? Oh, Lord, that's a really good one. And, you know, where are you traveling to? So from a player standpoint, and then I've always said this, Mike, I don't care how you leave a team. If you're on a different team that following year, when you go back and play that team, there's always I want to show you something. And we're getting more than a few of those. Obviously, Richard Sherman faces the Seahawks twice with the 49ers. Case Keenum now with the Broncos. He faces the Texans. Sam Bradford faces the Rams and the Vikings. Deion Lewis and Malcolm Butler now with the Titans.
Sam Bradford's playing all the hits this year.
That's exactly right. Deion Lewis and Malcolm Butler with the Titans now face the Patriots. And Jimmy Graham, Packers tight end, now faces the Seahawks. You always want that little extra when you're going against a team that you're not with anymore.
And I feel like the Malcolm Butler one has to be at the top of the list, considering more continues to pour out about that when we heard from Danny Amendola the other day. Everyone's got something to say about that one. We'll see if it can top the actual drama week 1 last year when the Saints and Vikings played, and you had Adrian Peterson, the short-lived New Orleans Saint, going up against his former team, and I believe that was the game that gave us all the drama on the sideline with him and Sean Payton and the death stare. So a lot of compelling stuff coming out of that one.
And the most important thing maybe that we've learned, according to Ben Volen of the Boston Globe, kickoffs moving up a little more. Mm-hmm. Sunday Night Football will kick off at 8:20 rather than 8:30. Monday Night Football on ESPN will kick off at 8:15 rather than 8:30, and Thursday Night Football 8:20 rather than 8:25. Look, say what you want, 15 to 10 minutes.
I'll take it.
We'll take it here.
Absolutely, I'll take it. Yes.
And ESPN's getting the Monday night game, the Mexico City game.
Right.
The Mexico City game, I believe, is going to be the Rams against the Chiefs.
We'll certainly find out tonight.
The Marcus Peters Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. So that's good. So we'll get to that again. 2 hours of special of that tonight. Make sure you join us at 8 o'clock.
Off the top.
As we continue off the top, I think it's time, and I can't believe we haven't done this already.
As they say in hockey, let's do that hockey.
There we go. We finally found the one thing that is impervious to the Philadelphia Eagles' wave of good tidings from winning the Super Bowl, and that thing is Sidney Crosby. Because the Penguins beat the Flyers 5-0 to take a 3-1 series lead and become the fourth team in NHL history to record multiple 5-0 shutouts in a single series, and Sidney Crosby a big reason why.
Yeah, he had 2 points in this one, brings his career total to 173, passing Mario Lemieux for the most in Penguins history, and those two guys are going to be, 1-2 for the history of that team, no doubt about it, in just about every facet. As far as the Penguins and that series, not one game has been close. Even the one game the Flyers won, it wasn't even close. So, but the Penguins getting it done. The Sharks beat the Ducks. Sharks sweep that series. Jones, their goalie, stopped 128 of 132 shots in the series. Pretty impressive. Lightning beat the Devils. Lightning lead that series 3-1, and our boy Jason Fitz going to be very happy. The Predators beat the Avalanche 3-2, and they lead that series 3-1.
Now, Sidney Crosby's only 30 years old, but he's been in the NHL since, 2005?
Yeah,
so
he's the LeBron of the NHL.
He came in the NHL at 4.
And I guess that's my point, is that's kind of the comparison you're looking at, is just how consistently great he continues to be. You continue to see plays like that wraparound goal from behind the cage and all these spots where he just continues to show his dominance over such a long stretch of time. He's been that force in the NHL, and much like LeBron, he's got the hardware to boot for it in the postseason. This isn't an Alexander Ovechkin where we constantly talk about wasted potential there. You talk about a guy who not only has dominated but continues to, and now seems like he's on the cusp of going for that three-peat with the Penguins this year. So it's one of those where we get to take that time to step back and marvel at what we've been allowed to watch.
Trying to do something last done by the New York Islanders in the early 80s when they won 4 straight Stanley Cups, win 3 straight. It is interesting that the Penguins are going for a 3rd straight Stanley Cup, yet the odds makers now in Vegas, of all places, have made the Preds and the Vegas Knights co-favorites now to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, First of all, is that little home book advantage? Is that what that is?
Yeah, I have to imagine there's some bias
advantage
working in there.
Do they do that out there? They build those big buildings. They don't really do that by having bias, do they?
I think the only thing they have bias for is profit.
Exactly.
More than anything else. But look, obviously the Penguins are off to a great start. And what we're getting up to the timer.
Yeah, we are.
What the Vegas Knights have done is really good.
There you go.
Yes. Stuck the landing.
We've been limited to each subject to what, 2 minutes? 2.5 minutes.
Whatever they decide in there, behind the glass. And that's the penalty box.
Just don't mention penalty boxes, or the Lebatard show will get mad at us for that too.
Why? Why? I thought they were the shipping container of whatever it was.
No, they've got a penalty box they send their guys into, though. It's a whole thing. So
they've invented everything, so we can't say anything.
Don't step on the bit.
Can we call it? We'll go with Anchorman, a glass cage of emotion.
There you go.
We'll do that.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. We'll do the therapy couch.
Yeah. Okay. So, no, don't do that, because then that'll also. Well, Stu Gatz will come on later and he'll be all upset about it.
Well,
so again, back to what we started off the top with: the Cavs take Game 2, and that's what everybody's talking about. Brought to you by Lowe's. Pros in the know. Start with Lowe's. Go to lowesforpros.com for details. I love the way that one just rolls off.
That does roll right off your tongue. That was very well done.
So what did Ty Lue say? We need LeBron to be more aggressive. Well, I think you couldn't ask for a better start, as he scored their first 16 points, had 46 in the night. So everyone's like, hey, LeBron, you're coachable. You took your coach's advice. Everyone saying that except, of course, LeBron.
I didn't come into the game saying I want to be assertive. Coach Lue said it. I never said. I said I'm going to play my game. And I did that tonight. And I made some shots early, got into a rhythm. Defensively, I wanted to be in tune. I wanted to try to get my guys involved as well. But I mean, I don't come in the game saying I'm going to try to do this, I'm going to do that. It just kind of happens to flow of the game. I play the game the right way, and that's just the result of it. So
I think that was the least surprising thing of all time, by the way, that LeBron would come out and put on a show after what happened. By the way, again, in Game 1, he did have a triple-double.
He had a triple-double, but he didn't make one shot out of the restricted area.
Yes.
So last night he did. Last night he was hitting jumpers. And
that's one of my favorite terms, by the restricted area.
Dun, dun, dun. But it definitely is a big deal, because now you can just kind of sink back and let him take the shot if he's going to miss it. Now he's hitting him on the outside. He was guarded by the big men for the Pacers a lot last night, and he took advantage of it. He was hitting mid-rangers right over the top of them, and then you're like, okay, he's hitting jumpers. We know we can drive the lane. That's going to be an issue now both ways, and now getting the other guys involved. Love hitting shots. Kyle Korver into the starting lineup. He was hitting shots, and that was the two changes. It was J.R. Smith and Kyle Korver both ended up in the starting lineup. They changed 2 slots there. Brett, what was the line last night in the game?
Cavs were favored by 8.
Cavs were favored by 8. I thought that last 3 that really meant nothing.
Might have meant something.
I thought the line was like 4, and they were up 6, and it dropped it down to 3, but it did not. Yeah, that was the most predictable thing there was last night, that LeBron was just going to come out and take charge early in this game. Now, did we know it was going to go to a level that we wouldn't see in the last 20 postseasons? Probably not. But still, you knew he was going to go out and take control. Whether we want to admit that was Ty Lue him doing it, or that's just kind of his MO after the previous game.
Yeah, LeBron likes control. He doesn't like the idea that anyone would be affecting the way that he's going to play the game, even though we know he hears and listens and adjusts accordingly in a lot of situations. What's interesting about this is, what was everyone shouting from the outside? LeBron James needs to take over. He just needs to put his head down and get to the basket and do all this stuff. And then I get to the broadcast and I hear Chris Webber and everyone talking and saying, well, Indiana can at least take solace in the fact that no one else on the Cavs is scoring right now.
That's the bigger question, is it not?
And it is. And I even thought going into this game, I'm like, yeah, okay, you can say that, but LeBron James is hitting jump shots. He can create that space in the paint for himself by loosening up defense and showing them now you have to respect his jump shot. But we saw that clearly, even with Korver and Love playing well enough, that it's still going to take some effort from the rest of these guys, because you and the Cavaliers, you've built this thing in the last couple of years around overwhelming offense. And the defense in stretches last night had some effort, but more often than not, that's a porous outfit defensively. And that offense just wasn't clicking enough on the top end to really give you any confidence in this team.
Well, look at the box score, okay? They scored 100. He had 46.
Yeah.
The rest of the team had 54. Second highest score was Kevin Love with 15. Korver had 12. And then the newcomers, the new Cavs that at the trade deadline, George Hill had 6. And then Larry Nance Jr. had 2. and Rodney Hood had 5. They've got to get more from those guys. They've got to.
Oh, I mean, Jeff Green's been self-checked this entire series. They're just sitting him outside and saying, yeah, we're good. We don't have to worry about this guy. The weird lineup iterations on the floor for this team. There doesn't seem to be a lot of comfort for those role players. George Hill, a ton of foul trouble last night.
And now and you're talking about role players and trying to figure out the role. What's the thought we always hear from our former NBA players is the role players play better at home. Yeah. Well, now they're going on the road. And I'm not kidding.
They got to do better than this.
Yeah, last night, when that game ended, I really did. I thought, you know what? I know they got the win, but I don't feel great about it.
Yeah.
Not at all, because how many times have we seen the greats, even going back to Jordan and before, get 40s and 50s and you lose that game?
Yep.
Because the other team says, go ahead, do your thing. We're just going to stop everybody else from doing it. But the Pacers, 2 games now, the Pacers haven't been over 100 points.
Right.
Winning the first game and obviously losing this one.
And that's the interesting thing, because what was the big knock against the Cavs all season? Their defense was terrible.
Yeah.
So they've got 2 games where the Pacers don't get 100 points.
Yeah.
And the other thing, that's a great observation you made about role players usually playing better at home. Remember when all these new Cavs came in? They were terrible at home, and they were much better on the road. So maybe that'll continue as we go forward. Look, there's a couple other things we need to get into this game, including a potential injury scare for the Cavs that looked worse than it was. You'll hear from Ty Lue about that.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Every deck is made for standing on, but there's only one that's always had a way of standing out. So if you're looking to bring more style, comfort, and creativity to your life outdoors, call on the brand that's known for making the most in outdoor living. From decking, railing, and lighting to furniture, fencing, and framing, at Trex, we're engineering what's next in outdoor living. To learn more about all of the outdoor solutions Trex has to offer, call 1-800-289-TREX or visit Trex.com. That's Trex.com.
Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Coming up a little later today, Carlos Boozer, 2-time NBA All-Star, will be in studio. The Stugotz from the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz will join us. And we have some news that I think he might enjoy.
Yes.
So we're going to tease that a little bit. We'll get to that a little later. Dan Dockich, 107.5, 1070 The Fan, will join us as well. And the dreamy one, Kirk Herbstreit, will join us, our college football analyst, a big part of our draft coverage coming up next week. We're excited about that. So that's all ahead. But as we said, it is a 1-1 series now between the Pacers and the Cavs. LeBron did very well, LeBron James things. Next highest scorer on the team was Kevin Love with 15, but that came at what looked like it was going to be a costly price late in the fourth quarter because Kevin Love missed all that time with a broken hand.
Yes, he did.
In the regular season. And then down the stretch, the basketball sort of bounced off his left thumb, and it looked bad, Mike, when you saw it on the replay.
It looked it was almost like a point blank pass as far as how close it was to him. And he had his arms outstretched, and so imagine your palm facing the ball where it's being passed, and it hits the top of the thumb, and you could just see that thumb bent back. And he put that hand behind his back, and you could tell he was in pain. Went to the bench, and you thought, no, that's the same hand he broke. Now, it's a non-shooting hand, which will turn out to be a good thing because it looks like he's going to play, especially when we play a Ty Lue sound. But when that first happened, you had to think, no, the one guy you want to count on after LeBron James, and he gets his left hand that was broken hit again.
Yeah, I mean, what a bad bit of luck this already is for Kevin Love. Could have been a lot worse, we understand. But, yeah, LeBron's looking for people he can rely on, and that list of guys right now consistently is very short and basically begins and ends with Kevin Love on a nightly basis.
Absolutely. And
thank you.
Well, I'm trying not to cough every 7 seconds. But you're right.
Wow.
You're right. Wow, the force was strong.
That was there, wasn't it?
I got the full Golic wave there in a double dose. My goodness. You couldn't do that again on cue if you tried.
No, we're not going to.
We're not going to.
So, as you alluded to, Kevin Love, obviously, it looked bad. It looks like he's going to be okay. They did take x-rays after the game. They were negative. He's going to be fine. And Ty Lue was asked about it after the game, and his response was interesting.
Is there an update on Kevin?
He's good.
Okay.
Okay.
Is he getting an X-ray?
No, he's good. He just a little jammed thumb, a little whatever, but he's fine.
Okay, then how come he didn't come back in?
Because we had a good flow going.
Okay, so he's okay.
He's
for
great.
Game 2.
Yes, sir. Ready to go. Game 3. Yes, sir.
He's good.
He's good.
All right, we're good. Fine.
Good to go.
Nothing to see here. It's all good. It's all good.
Fine. That was
Kevin, you good?
Yeah, you good. I'm good.
All good.
You up? All right, we're good.
Luckily, the X-rays were negative because, man, what a scary thought that would be because they haven't found anybody else yet to pick up any slack at all. That would have been brutal for them if they were to lose him.
That's the one thing that they can't lose anymore. They absolutely can't have that. Then there was a situation after the game. Very sad to report that Greg Popovich's wife of over 4 decades, I believe, passed away at the age of 67. She'd been in an illness for a long time. And LeBron James obviously is very close to Greg Popovich.
Yes.
Pop was on a USA basketball team as assistant coach in 2004 when LeBron made his Olympic debut.
And this happened during the game so much that TNT kind of cut in while play was going on to make the announcement to tell everybody that Aaron Popovich had passed away after this long illness. So we were all it started to hit Twitter world, and then we found out during the game as well.
So after the game, Allie LaForce, who was doing the sideline commentating for TNT, had LeBron James, and she whispered to LeBron, "Hey, I'm going to ask you about this." And this was LeBron's response to the question on Greg Popovich's wife passing away.
LeBron, during this game, we got the really devastating news. The Spurs announced that Coach Popovich's wife, officially passed away. I know you're close with Pop. Any words or thoughts you'd like to share with him?
I mean, I'm a huge Pop fan. That's such a tragedy, and my best wishes goes out to Pop and his family. I know that's devastating news, and it's just a lot. I mean, the NBA family, we all stick together. I know we compete every night, but something like this happens, it puts everything in perspective.
So that's LeBron getting very emotional.
Yeah. And again,
real emotions.
First and foremost, obviously, the condolences to Greg Popovich.
Absolutely.
And obviously his kids with the passing of their mom, a couple of grandkids, I believe.
Yes.
As well. It's just, again, dealing with a long illness, a horrible situation. But then the way this went down, I mean, and again, we see it on social media, the vitriol that went on about Allie LaForce. There's a couple of things here. Asking the question, there are a lot of people saying, why are you asking the question here? And are you blindsiding LeBron with it? And you could clearly see that she was talking to him before she interviewed him. And all of us in this business, and, Mike, you and I call games, we deal with sideline reporters all the time. We know what they do, and they're not going to blindside somebody like this. Allie LaForce, I think, handled everything as professional as you can. You can question whether you should bring that up in a general sense of bringing up that question at that point, but I don't really have a problem with that either in the immediacy of things. But as far as her getting a lot of grief on Twitter world, I completely disagree with that. I thought she handled it incredibly well.
She did. The problem is we're dealing with an area that people don't really understand or care to. People simplify the role of the sideline reporter more often than not in the general sort of public view. And so they saw that moment where, LeBron still, even after being alerted, is still processing that in a matter of, maybe less than a minute and trying to formulate thoughts. So looked shocked, looked surprised, looked to be processing that grief all in real time. And that for a lot of people was jarring. Now, it had, I think you saw the reason why they decided to ask that question there. And that's the other thing is Allie LaForce did not come to that question on her own. That was the first place I started with all this is, that's a decision you make with the director, with everyone else involved. We know this is coming up. We know their relationship. How do we want to handle this? And then Allie just happens to be the mouthpiece. So she's asked to go and stand out there. And the most encouraging thing about all of this was the way that Turner stepped up and had her back, because that is a very lonely place, the way that all that attack was going on and the way it persisted, and for them to respond as quickly as they did with the statement coming out that she had talked to him before, with Ernie Johnson coming out of that TNT halftime to say that to me was the biggest positive that came out of that portion of the situation.
That was great that they did that, but the fact that they had to do that was ridiculous for crying out loud. That's the thing that I can't understand, why this was the pitchfork moment for Twitter last night. And not only did Turner have Allie LaForce's back, LeBron James had Allie LaForce's back. He heard about the backlash as he was going home after the game, and this is what he posted on his website, Uninterrupted.
A lot of people feel like I was blindsided
That is absolutely false. Allie LaForce told me that she was going to ask me the question and if it was okay. And once I started talking about it, once we were on air, actually my emotions just kind of took over. And that was just my emotions coming straight from my heart about the late Aaron, Popovich.
So, again, let's be clear. Here's what happened. Allie LaForce did her job and said, hey, I want to ask you about this. He seemed okay with it. She was asked the question. His true emotions came out again because they're very close going back to their days with USA Basketball. And as you just heard from LeBron, those were my actual emotions. I was not blindsided in any way, shape, or form. So can everybody stand down now? Can we just stand down?
Here's what aggravates me. I mean, there's a grandmother, a mother, and a man's wife who passed away. And this is where this went?
Exactly.
This is where this went? You want to criticize the person for asking the question? I mean, she just passed away. I mean, that's where the thought was. And LeBron's a guy who knows him very well. You're getting his emotion. You're getting his response to that. That's what everybody's going to be doing last night and today is responding and giving condolences to Greg and the family. I mean, that should be the focus here. And all of a sudden, the Twitter world makes the focus on Allie LaForce and whether you ask a question or not. I mean, my God.
You know what? Obviously, this is the way that we operate, which is not for better or for worse. It's for worse, the response online. But I will defend somewhat because I truly think people on the outside don't understand all of the stuff that goes into that. Right. And they look at it as for LeBron James, they're looking at it and saying, that's not fair to him, a guy who's dealing with someone who he knew and is having to process in this. That seemed to me, it at least came from a place where it's like, this isn't fair to this guy. Now, then it turned the wrong direction and went after Allie, and that's the unfortunate part of this. It goes into that, but that's the one thing I will say is I can understand when people just don't know as much about this process, and me having gone through the process of calling games for the first time. I mean, the first thing I thought of, though, was when Reggie White died, and they brought you in to do NFL Live, and you knew full well about it going in, but when you got into studio and you see it and you process it, there's still that emotional response for the first time, and so, because then it turned to, was LeBron forcing it and acting after that if he did know?
It went in directions that were ridiculous.
It was all just a kind of absurd, and when you boil it down, all of this made sense. It was all the simplest possible version of the result. So cooler heads prevail, but it just kind of showed you this is the way we process things now online in real time.
Twitter outrage, as I always say, where someone gets so angry about something until the next day when they get angry about something else, they forgot what they were so outraged about the day before. But at the end of the day, bottom line, condolences go out to Greg Popovich and the Pop family, the entire San Antonio Spurs organization family, and LeBron James was literally speaking from the heart. Case closed. End of story. Winning at sports and at sports broadcasting means changing things up.
Just like La Quinta Inns and Suites is changing up their look.
A renovated lobby that's so contemporary it even makes Golic look cool.
Yes, it does. And a totally updated fitness center that even has Wingo feeling like a workout.
I'm ripped. Plus plenty of comfortable spaces to hang out.
Yep, this La Quinta look definitely has a vibe of victory.
So you can just relax, refresh, and get ready for your next big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com. All right, we continue on Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Again, if you want to leave us a phone voicemail like Fitz did, it's 860-506-5505.
You're just with us, taking advantage of that voice.
Milking it now.
You're loving the sick octave.
Yeah, I'm like a 2 a.m. FM DJ coming up the final side of deep
You need to karaoke a Barry White song right now. Huh?
You'll never find.
Yeah. All right. Never mind. I was kidding. I was kidding.
Someone who loves you the way that I do. Okay, so here we are.
Yep.
Right now, according to the Vegas odds makers, the Golden Knights are now co-favorites to win the Stanley Cup along with Jason Fitt's Predators, which I find somewhat interesting.
Penguins.
Yeah, they've only won this thing 2 years in a row, but we're not interested in them. That's a separate story, but it is remarkable what the Vegas Knights have been able to do. They're the first NHL team to clinch a playoff spot in its inaugural season since the Oilers and Whalers did so in 1979 and 80. The Oilers, who had Wayne Gretzky, and the Whalers, who had Mr. Hockey Gordie Howe, came from the WHA following a merger. So that's slightly different than what we've seen here from the Golden Knights when you have the Great One and Mr. Hockey.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nobody named either one of those two things on the Golden Knights, and that really is what makes what they've been able to do, I think, more impressive.
Yeah, it's been Marc-Andre Fleury. It's been the goalie and what he's been able to do, especially in the postseason, but really the regular season and what they accomplished has been incredible. So, listen, we just keep talking about the story, and again, I would imagine the players are confident. These are professional players, so they're confident just because they're on a new team with a new name. I'm sure their thought process is give us time to play together, and we think we're going to be good enough to win. And that's the mentality of a professional athlete, of an athlete. So that's exactly what they're doing. But certainly what is happening is expectations certainly from the Vegas standpoint. I mean, the casino standpoint and the bookie standpoint, the expectations have risen. But for the players, I don't think there's any doubt at a point of this season when they were winning that they had in their mind, hey, we can take this thing a lot further than people think we can, and they're showing they can do that.
I'm interested to see now the way television ratings look for this playoff run for Vegas, because it's been a good story for the NHL and the fact that it's brought people in and it doesn't require the people interested in that story to actually pay attention to hockey. Like, you can just keep looking and say, oh, look, Vegas, the expansion team's still doing well. Vegas Golden Knights, we know their name. We know they're still winning. We don't actually have to know anything about hockey or watch any of the games to know that.
It's a good story.
Now that they've gotten to this point, so it's been a story that's gotten national attention. Now is it translated to any extra eyeballs that come in the NHL? Because the NHL is a passionate fan base, but one that's pretty set. You're not getting a ton of people that are all of a sudden going to be converts.
You don't get the casual fan a lot.
Yeah, well, could this be enough? I mean, listen, the NHL playoff gets the casual fan more than the rest of the NHL calendar year, because we all come in and we all give our stock lines about hockey and then we sort of move on. But it's fun to watch during this time of year. And maybe the bigger question is not, does it give you a bump now because it's the playoff, but does maybe this carry over into next year where there are more people, especially people interested in that team, depending on how far they go?
Look, nothing is better than playoff hockey. Not even the NFL playoffs. Nothing is more grueling. Nothing is more taxing. Nothing is more interesting. And nothing is more sitting on the edge of your seat, chomping at your fingernails than overtime playoff hockey. It's the greatest thing there is. There absolutely is. Someone asked me once to name my 5 greatest sporting events I ever went to in my life, and the top one had to be a double overtime game, Game 7, between the Red Wings and the Blues at the Joe. It was 0-0 until Steve Yzerman ripped one from right over the line over the shoulder of John Casey for a clincher in Game 7, and the Joe went nuts. There's nothing like playoff hockey. It's absolutely crazy, and that's why.
As they say in hockey, let's do that hockey.
I do like that. And before the season, they were 500-1. You know what the biggest odds were as of late? In 2015, Leicester City, when they won the Premier League.
Oh, yeah.
They were 2,500-1.
That's bad.
2,500-1, and someone got a payoff on that one. We have Auburn football was 1,000-1 in 2013 when they lost the national championship game. VCU in 2010 were 2,000-1. They lost the national semifinal. And in 1999, St. Louis was 200-1 when they won the Super Bowl.
Listen, only one time in the NHL's expansion era since 1967-68 have this expansion team reached the Stanley Cup Finals, and that was the Blues in their inaugural season. They were swept by the Canadiens. But that year, all 6 expansion teams were placed in the same division, so one was guaranteed to reach the final. So it was a different format completely. Bottom line, what the Vegas Knights have done from what the expectations were are absolutely incredible at the start of the season. But now, as you said, suddenly expectations have changed, and their sights have changed, and they are co-favorites right now, along with the Preds, to reach the Stanley Cup and take home the Golden Chalice. And that was Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. Well, we're inside a week now away from the start of the draft, and is there an NFL top draft pick that may hear his name called very early that is planning on pulling an Eli? We'll get to that after this. Stay with us, and let's do that hockey.
Nowadays, everything has its own day, like National Take a Hike Day. At AARP, we're all about hikes and bikes and even swims, because we're here to help you become your healthiest self. It's why we offer health tips for your body and your brain. Yeah, your brain. Today is your day to make fitness happen, and we're here to help. So take on today and every day with AARP. Learn how at takeontoday.aarp.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Carl Tart.
I'm Jackie's Neil.
And I'm Edgar Mobizer.
And we are the host of a new show called Culture Kings on How Stuff Works. We cover a whole range of topics on this show, but one of the things that we talk about the most is sports, because we love them. Jacques, what's the sports opinion you have?
The Cubs are the best team of all time.
That's ridiculous. Edgar?
Kevin Durant is the greatest player of all time.
Nonsense. My favorite basketball player is LeBron James. He's the king of the world, and we'll get into that on Culture Kings. Download it wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere. Just listen to it, damn it!
Golic and Wingo with you on a Thursday morning on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We've got some guests coming up in studio as well. Carlos Boozer will join us in about 30 minutes, talk about the NBA playoffs, his level of concern for James Harden as well as the Cavaliers after 2 games to their playoff starts. Stu Gotts will join us at 8:05. At 8:30, Dan Dockich will join us, college basketball NBA analyst as well. And Kirk Herbstreit will be with us at 9:30 as he gets set to join us on the traveling circus known as the NFL Draft, which begins a week from tonight. And we'll get a lot to get to with football because we feel like we're sort of a week away, not only from the start of the draft, but tonight later on, 8 to 10 on ESPN, we'll have our NFL schedule release show.
Who's hosting that?
That would be moi.
That would be you?
That would be me.
Okay.
Adam Schefter will be there. I think Ryan Clark, Darren Woodson will be there as well, so we're excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into that, and there's some interesting little nuggets coming in and out of the draft as we get closer and closer to what's going to happen a week from tonight in Dallas in the first round. We'll get to that after we do what's trending, and of course what's trending positively on somewhat of a level right now is the Cleveland Cavaliers. They beat the Pacers 197 to even their series at 1 game apiece, but they needed all of LeBron James's 46 points to do it.
I'm not going to lie. I saw the end of this game, and the Cavs won and even up that series, and now go to Indiana, and I didn't feel great about it at all. LeBron did exactly what anybody would have predicted LeBron's going to do. Went out, lost his mind, scored the first 13 points. It was 13-0. First 16 of the 13 of the game. First 16 for the Cavs and 20 in the first quarter. And then it was it ended up a 3-point game, but it was also a 3-point game with a little bit to go where the Pacers had a chance to tie it and all of a sudden bring it back to even. But they weren't able to do it. And that nerved me out a little bit. Mike, you brought up the point about Oladipo. Foul trouble early because, man, the second half, he was getting to the hoop anytime he wanted. They dominated Cleveland in the paint as well. And so while Cleveland won, I don't feel all that great about what's going on. And then Kevin Love gets hurt.
No, yeah, they more than doubled up on them in points in the paint. It was staggering. And Indiana is by far the better overall team. And we always talked about it. Can you beat LeBron James 4 times in a series? It is literally looks like 1-on-5 out there. It is the sheer force of one guy. There was a shot last night of LeBron James at the free throw line, and the rest of the lineup on the court, I think Kevin Love was off at the time, so it was a lot of those new faces. And you looked at it, and you just sort of saw everyone's demeanor, and you're like, wow, this really is going to come down to, is he capable of bringing everyone along on his own in a way that looks less and less likely by the day?
Well, we've certainly seen him do that before. The first trip he ever made to the NBA Finals, it was literally LeBron James and others will take on with, I think, the Spurs.
Yeah, and they got
for the NBA,
right?
And they got swept in that series. So, to your point, though, first of all, Kevin Love did injure that thumb. It looks like he's going to be okay. Ty Lue said after the game he will play. It was his left thumb, which is not his shooting thumb, but it's also the hand that he broke earlier in the year when he missed a bunch of time. And Love was the only guy close to LeBron, and he had 31 points fewer with 15.
Kevin Love and LeBron James, between the two of them, had 40 shots.
Yeah.
The rest of the team took 33.
That's a problem.
Yeah, and didn't make many of them.
Yeah. What we call them, the Jordanaires or the Jordanettes when Michael was there with nobody else around him. The LeBronettes.
Yeah.
The rest of those guys need to step up, and we'll see if they can do that in their first road playoff game in Game 3. Well, the Rockets won, and they're 2-0 in their series. However, James Harden had a off night, 2 of 18 shooting.
But, they're able to pick it up with Chris Paul scoring 27. That certainly helps. James was just 1 of 10 from three-point land. Chris Paul was 3 of 5. They took 52 threes. It is ridiculous, the amount of threes they take. I watch it, and I'm still in awe of the amount of threes they take. It's just so amazing compared, I know it's all up in the league, and threes are the big thing now, but they even take it to another level. As far as Minnesota is concerned, listen, we had Tom Thibodeau on before this series started. They were 0-4 against Houston in the regular season. He knew the work they had cut out for them. Their first time in the playoffs in 13 years. Karl Anthony Towns, though, his first chance as a big man in the playoffs. 2 games, single digits, not really working well for him right now. Houston, you said it before, Mike, and you're right. They're just the better team. We're all just waiting for the next opponent, and quite honestly, we're all just waiting for the Houston Golden State matchup.
Well, and to your point, though, we got an answer of, all right, what happens when James Harden has an off night? And at least against this team, they were able to buoy against that. But we remember in the disappearing act of James Harden before they were ousted in last year's playoff, it seemed like he ran out of gas. And to only have to play 30 minutes last night and to be able to stagger him in that lineup with Chris Paul at certain times and keep one of them on the floor, I think you'll see the true dividends for that paid later on in the playoffs when all of a sudden his conditioning doesn't become the one thing that maybe sets his offensive game back.
Well, you mentioned an off night, okay? We mentioned 2 of 18 shooting. It's the first time he had at least 3 steals and 3 blocks in a regular season or playoff game in his career. But according to BasketballReference.com's database, there have now been 16 players since 1964 to make 2 or fewer field goals with at least 15 attempts in an NBA playoff. Harden is the only one to do so and walk out with a win, and that stat's incredible.
Yeah.
And that's brought to you by OnStar, advisors ready to help 24/7 so you're never alone.
And
OnStar. Be safe out there.
Sorry about that. Let's give a little love to Utah as well, beating Oklahoma City last night. And Donovan Mitchell, if the Rookie of the Year was counted now and it was close between him and Ben Simmons, Donovan Mitchell would have overtaken it last night.
Yes.
55 points in the first 2 playoff games, 28 last night. He absolutely took over in the fourth quarter when the big 3 for Oklahoma City did not. The 3 of them going 0 for 14 from the field, scoring just 2 points. He was fantastic last night as the Jazz even up that series.
Stop wearing shirts, Russ.
Nice. You nailed it. We're 2 for 2 on the run-up. Very nice.
Thank you very much.
By the way, that is the biggest smile I've ever seen in the history of Dan Stanzig's
It was.
He was so happy about that. Did
we
you
made
see
him
that?
smile once. Now we have to get him mad.
Well, that's easy.
Yeah,
he's a miserable curmudgeon at the age of 21.
Yeah,
so, I mean, he's just he's a miserable human being. Yep. But just the fact that he actually just smiled there was absolutely amazing. You know who's smiling? Red Sox fans.
Wow.
They become just the 7th team in the live ball era to begin a season at 15-2 or better.
Yeah, the last was 2003. It was the Giants were 15-2. Before that, it was 1987. And they're not just winning, gang. They are winning by a big margin compared to everybody else. They're at plus 60 in run differential right now. The next closest is the team actually they're ahead of by 3 games in the AL East. That's Toronto Blue Jays at plus 38. So that's the next closest to them. So they're winning. They have obviously they have a handful of 1-run games, this year, but they are also destroying teams as well, like they did last night in their 9-0 win over the Angels.
Give them credit though, trying to control expectations. JD Martinez comes out and says, "Come at me when it's July, and then we'll start talking." So
True.
they get that there's not a ton to celebrate right now, and that's smart because they've seen what the burden of expectation has done to their rivals in the Bronx right now, and it ain't anything good.
Basically, he just did the "don't at me" on Twitter, basically, is what he said. Come at me in July. Don't at me until July.
Don't at me
basically
now.
is what he's saying.
Yeah.
By the way, that Red Sox-Angels game will be on ESPN Plus at 10 p.m. Eastern. You want to check that out as well, as we're delighted to offer ESPN Plus to all our consumers on our many platforms here at ESPN. Okay, so as we said, the schedule releases tonight, which gives us a little hit of... as we get set to look forward to the 2018 NFL schedule, the shakes. When you need the shakes, you get a little hit. But a week from tonight will be the 3-day process, the traveling circus known as the NFL Draft. And one of the names that I think has been on the top of Mel's big board for a long, long time is running back Saquon Barkley. Now, the Browns have the 1st overall pick and the 4th overall pick, and it by all consensus, it looks like the Browns are going to take a quarterback with the 1st overall pick, even though some say, hey, if you think Saquon Barkley is the best player in the draft, why wait till take him at 1?
The quarterback.
Right.
If you feel there is a franchise quarterback of the 1,000 that are available in this draft, you take a quarterback.
So
that's all I have to say.
And then the idea is maybe they'll take the quarterback at 1, and if Saquon gets past the Giants at 2, who could do a lot of different things, including trade back, which is a very interesting scenario if a team like Buffalo or Arizona wants to jump up and get into the quarterback sweepstakes, then maybe they could get the quarterback they want and Saquon Barkley at 4, which would be an unbelievable haul. Now, Saquon himself, of course, is from a small town outside Allentown, Pennsylvania, and played at Penn State, is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Very outgoing, gregarious, courteous, says all the right things, does all the right things, has said all along, hey, I would love to go to Cleveland and turn this thing around. However, from this SI.com Monday Morning Quarterback article, he's represented by Rock Nation. And according to this article, his Rock Nation handlers don't want him to be taken number 1 overall, and they don't want him in Cleveland. They want him to go second to the Giants and play in, quote, the media capital of the world. That's where you can become the face of the league. His manager even implored him to, wait for it, pull an Eli Manning and demand that the Browns not draft him. Barkley never considered the option. Sure, he likes the idea of coming back to his city of birth. He's from New York. And even playing for the Jets. And he's heard countless people tell him that if he ends up in Cleveland, his career will be ruined. There's a lot to get in there, too. First of all, let's remember in 2004, Eli was actually drafted by the Chargers, and Phillip Rivers was drafted by the Giants, and they made that trade that those two would get to where they wanted to go. Eli made it pretty clear that he did not want to go to San Diego at that time.
Manning family made that one clear.
Yes.
So we've heard Rock Nation talk about this. We haven't heard Saquon Barkley say
or anybody of his family.
Anybody say anything like this. And I get, listen, you go to Cleveland, it's been a tough haul. Yeah. But also to go to New York and to be the face of the league in that market, I don't buy that. We're past that.
I agree. LeBron James is the face of the NBA, and he plays in Cleveland.
I mean, just go in the league. I mean, Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers. Indianapolis, Peyton Manning. I mean, you can be the face of the league and of a team. Certainly, you don't have to be in a major market anymore. But certainly going to Cleveland, the last. I mean, you're looking at a Joe Thomas that was highly successful, and he'll walk into the Hall of Fame, but never had a winning season. So for the most part, I understand going there and how it hasn't worked out for people. But again, we haven't heard this from Saquon Barkley. So I would be a little surprised if the number 4 pick, he's there and Cleveland took him, that we're going to hear, well, he's not going to Cleveland.
Well, Mary Kay Cabot, who does a great job covering the Cleveland Browns, has this out on her Twitter feed. Saquon Barkley's agent tells me that SI report is false, that Rock Nation has told the running back to pull an Eli Manning and refuse to go to the Browns. And she also says, keep in mind that Rock Nation also represents Browns head coach Hugh Jackson. So that would seem to be a little bit of conflict there. Look, you understand, Junior, perhaps why people have concerns about Cleveland, but I think sometimes we need to remember that the only thing that's been consistent in Cleveland has been the uniform. It has been a myriad of different organizations that have found ways to stumble through the draft. And GM John Dorsey, he's a real GM. He's had success before in this league, and I think sometimes people are saddling on him the past failures of future regimes or past regimes there.
Yeah, I mean, John Dorsey was also shown the door in Kansas City prematurely. That staff chose Andy Reid and that vision over what John Dorsey was doing. So all that glitters is not gold in that situation, but I understand the past isn't his fault here. My question with this situation is, if you're right, if we haven't heard from Saquon's family either. If this was a parent that said, I don't want my kid ending up in that graveyard of failed NFL careers, you would understand it. Who benefits from this information coming? I'm asking this genuinely because I'm not sure, because Rock Nation represents both parties involved in this and would have an interest in making sure that they're all well served. I'm trying to figure out who benefits from this information being leaked if it's true that Rock Nation says, we didn't report this, we didn't put this out there. That's the one thing I can't figure out in all this.
I mean,
because usually with these rumors, that's what we say is, all right, who does it benefit?
Who brought it out?
Which side benefits from this information being released publicly?
I mean, the only thing you could say is if he truly didn't want to go to Cleveland and they were truly saying, don't waste your pick on him, he's not going to play for you. John Elway did that as Baltimore. Well. We saw that. We know what Eli did as well. So if they came out and staunchly said, and Saquon was in that corner and said, don't pick me, I ain't coming. I'll wait. I'll do whatever I got to do, but I'm not coming to your team. So, and that would be the only reason I can see, but we don't have that. We have Rock Nation denying it. Saquon Barkley or his family's never said anything. So I know we always say where there's smoke, there's fire, but I don't know about this one. I don't think I'm going down the road of thinking that he isn't going to play for Cleveland if he gets drafted there.
Do we have Pope Fire?
Yeah.
Do we have it? Where is it?
Oh, we've got it made up already?
We have it made up already?
Oh, guys, you shouldn't have.
It's the full thing? Okay, because you said where there's smoke, there's fire. We'll get to it later.
We'll get to it.
Okay, but anyway, Will Kane said something about with the Patriots story. Hey, is it smoke? Like white smoke for a new pope or black smoke for a real fire in the building?
Yeah.
And then your son just brilliantly said we should play a new game, Pope or Fire. Which one is it?
Mm-hmm.
Look, there's something here. I don't know what it is. And look, we've seen this happen before on many occasions. One side will leak out some information to see how it plays, and then when they come back, well, we didn't say that.
We didn't do that. We didn't say that. Yeah.
Let's be clear. That happens all the time. I'm not saying that did happen here, but to say that wouldn't happen in this situation is patently false because we're in the lying season right now.
Yeah, we are.
All we are. Like, there was another story out there that someone told, I think Todd McShay, sources are convinced that they are ready to take Saquon Barkley at number 2 and want to be a run-first team. No one's a run-first team in the NFL in 2018. Let's be clear about that. And you know who puts something out like that? The Giants.
Right. Yeah,
because they don't want to say, okay, maybe if they think we're taking Saquon at 2, somebody else wants to come up and grab him.
Someone will offer something.
You have to filter everything through the same prism this time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's telling the truth. Nobody is telling the truth, and you got to figure out who actually is and who isn't.
So if that's actually the backdrop, that would make sense. That was the path of logic I would go down with the Giants. Right. Could you not indicate that maybe what if the Browns, you've got Hugh Jackson and Saquon in on this, so it could come from either of those sides in Rock Nation. What if Cleveland wants people to think a little bit more long and hard, like, man, could they be taking Saquon high at one of these spots? If you're a team that was really looking long and hard at Saquon and you think maybe he won't be around, maybe they won't take him, maybe we're all convinced Cleveland is taking a quarterback at 1, but maybe you want Saquon in that 4 range and all of a sudden you're calling Cleveland about that pick. That's the only thing that I can think of this, is that all of a sudden that 4th pick, because it seemed pretty set in stone for a while that Cleveland, after all that trading back they used to do, is out of that business. Maybe it's not quite yet. Maybe there's a last little, let's just see what might pop up for a guy that's considered the can't-miss prospect of the draft.
Absolutely, and it benefits them because they're going to take a quarterback at number 1. Yeah. So if you believe, like we've seen in the past few years, as good as Ezekiel Elliott was his rookie year, as good as Todd Gurley has been, look, Leonard Fournette and both Christian McCaffrey went in the top 10 a year ago. And by far the best rookie running back last year was Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
And Kareem
Hunt, both in the
third rounders. And there are running backs out there that you can think, okay, as much as we believe Saquon Barkley is all of these things, we've seen in years past, but Zeke was great, Todd Gurley is great, Leonard Fournette was fine for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but Alvin Kamara and Kareem Hunt were definitely more dynamic playmakers the rookie year.
And to move on to the next topic, you say at this point you don't hear the truth out of anybody. Well, maybe we did hear the truth out of somebody, and I don't know how well it served him for telling the truth.
That would be one Baker Mayfield. Also from a Monday Morning Quarterback article, Baker's got a lot going on. He's on the cover of Sports Illustrated with his shirt off, saying, I won't be denied, I won't go any lower. He put a line in the draft, apparently, according to that article, at 5 and says, I'm not going any later than 5. Right. I don't know why you want to make that declaration.
I have no idea.
But also, asked afterward how he felt he'd performed during a Chargers meeting with the L.A. Chargers, Mayfield flashed a shade of vanity more often associated with other different people, saying, quote, I didn't look at their playbook as much as I should have, Mayfield said. It could have gone a little bit better, but at the same time, I'm prioritizing which playbooks I'm going to learn. No offense to them, but I've got a lot on my plate.
All right, context to this. This was before his pro day. The Chargers, including Ken Wisenhunt, the offensive coordinator, wanted to take him out to lunch. And before they went out to lunch, they gave him basically a handful of plays. This is what teams do when they're looking at a quarterback, is they'll give him some of a playbook, and then over a period of time, they'll talk to him again, and they'll basically have him kind of regurgitate it or go through it. So they gave him a handful of plays, and then they went out to lunch, and at lunch, they asked him about those plays. And that's when he said, I didn't look at the playbook as much as I should have. Here's what I don't understand. It could have gone better. At the same time, I'm prioritizing which playbooks I'm going to learn. No offense to them, but I got a lot on my plate. Baker, what the hell do you have on your plate?
That's brutal.
What do you have on your plate other than getting ready for the frickin' NFL draft? All you're doing is auditioning and doing interviews for your job. Okay? If you say you're drawing a line in the sand at 5 and they're picking at 6, don't go to lunch with them. Don't put yourself in that situation, because now you know what people can say? Oh, your heart's not in that one. What happens if you go to the Jets and you're 3rd string, right? If you're behind Josh McCown and you're behind Teddy Bridgewater, you know what's fair to ask now? How much you studying the playbook? You're 3rd string. You're probably not going to play. You studying that playbook? How much you jumping into that? You know, you probably will be. You probably will be, but you've opened yourself up because of that comment. I love this kid's potential of and I'm really intrigued. I like what he does about the size and the speed. I like what he does, and I want to see what he can do at the next level. But that's the stuff. I don't care about the plant flagging and the grabbing and all that kind of stuff. The plant flagging, the
flag planting,
the flag planting,
plant flagging.
Thank you very much.
Flagging was really interesting.
Don't care about that. But this, to sit there and say I didn't do what I should, I have a lot on my plate. What do you have on your plate?
BehindBaker.com.
Getting
the
ready for the draft. So to me, that was a bad thing out of him.
It was, and You know what? It's bad on a scale, though, because I think about all this stuff, and I think about all this stuff with Rosen and anything else that's come out, and I go, all right, in my heart of heart, do I think it's going to affect where any of these teams are going to take these guys? No. It might affect the way we judge them, and they'll have to live with that, but Baker was a guy that was already going to get judged anyway, so it's definitely bad. There's an easy place to cap that quote where it's, I wish I'd have performed better in that meeting. Right. I felt bad about the way that I did in that, but then to put it back where it basically starts grading the importance of team, indicating you got a pretty high view of yourself, that's where you're going to lose in the court of public opinion, but you ain't going to lose in the court of dollars and cents now.
And you're right. It's not going to affect where he goes in the draft. That is true.
Well, it might affect if the Chargers were thinking about trying to trade up to get him. I mean, that's the thing. Look, where they're drafting, I won't be there. You don't know that. Okay, you don't know that. What did we see just last year? The Chiefs went from 27 to 10 to get Patrick Mahomes, and I think the Texans went from 22 to 12 to get Deshaun Watson. So, dude, you're right. All you're doing now, it's a job. It's
too
a job
much on your plate.
And too much on your plate, by the way, is the BehindBaker.com, the 6-episode web
That's
series
your
that
fault
he's putting
if you
out
have
there.
other things on your plate other side and getting ready for a draft in your audition.
What does Bill Belichick always say? Do your job.
Do your job.
Your job right now is to prove that you're the best version of yourself to anybody that wants to talk to you about potentially giving you millions of dollars.
We should be careful, though, or we're going to make the list.
What? Oh, yeah, he also has a list.
We're going to make his list.
He also has a list of people that are saying bad things about him, and he uses that as motivation.
Again,
you know what's better motivation? Studying the damn playbook.
But I don't think it will affect his draft. I agree with you, Mike, but to me it was a bad look.
It's a confirmation bias. Yeah. See, this is why, whatever you didn't think about this kid, well, this is why. All you want to do is make yourself in the best possible light. This was the exact opposite of that.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Decking, railing, lighting, furniture, fencing, framing. At Trex, we make the most in outdoor living because you deserve to get more from your life outdoors. So why not start bringing your ideas to life now with the brand that's engineering what's next? To learn more about all of the outdoor solutions Trex has to offer, or to find a local retailer or a certified Trex Pro deck builder near you, visit Trex.com. That's Trex.com.
Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests joined us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and then we're lucky enough to have a guy like the guy who's joining us in studio. Two-time NBA All-Star Carlos Boozer joins us in studio, giving us a straight talk. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Can I give him some straight talk right now?
Yeah.
You look way too fresh for this show.
Way too nice.
Way too fly. We are slobs. Just so you know, our entire goal in this studio is to eventually make it so filthy that vermin are here. That's the whole point.
Allie, the quicker you get a picture of him out on our social media, that's teal, is it not?
Yeah, it's teal.
I think it's seafoam.
I want to bring a little Miami to y'all this morning.
Oh, good call.
Considering it's 37 and sleeting, we'll take all the Miami you want to bring.
You look fantastic, and we look forward to it. So real quickly, that open there was when Draymond Green got kicked in the ding-ding, and he usually has done that to others, so we were nicknaming that and talking about how sophomore humor is always fun.
Right.
And I've always said when you're brought up as an athlete up through time, through the levels, if you get hit there, grab another body part. Were you taught the same thing to kind of make sure you're not showing that you got hit there, or if you can do that?
Yeah, I mean, that's just a tough thing for anybody. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to try to deflect the pain, but the pain's still there.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what you grab, it's still there.
Reflex is reflex.
Yeah, it is.
No question.
Can't we say grab a shoulder or something?
Why? Why?
But my shoulder doesn't hurt.
I thought you were going to go with your geometry question. He really breaks this down.
Okay.
When you're hit in the little...
straight shot.
And the chicken nuggets.
Yeah. Straight shot, or y'all will be there up and under.
Or up and under is way worse.
Straight shots
way worse.
Way worse. I don't know. It's just the whole area is a sensitive area. So anytime you get hit, and especially with the velocity you can get kicked with.
Yeah.
Some of these guys, I mean, they may play basketball or football, but they could be karate kickers, you know.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, you never
UFC.
You never want to get in a scrum in a football game. Trust me, in the pig pile, because they will grab anything
heard
to
stories.
get you to
Things
release
happen.
that football.
Things happen. What happens in a pile stays in a pile.
Unlike these days, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. All right, Carlos Boozer here with us again, two-time NBA All-Star. Hey, the Cavs won Game 2. That's great. but your level of concern over how they won it is what?
Super high. I mean, I'm gonna be on a red alert because even though LeBron had an incredible night, 46 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, incredible evening. They won by 3. And let's be honest, the shot that Oladipo had with about 25 seconds left or whatever it was could have tied the ball game up, and they could be going to overtime or maybe even swinging Indiana's favor. So to me, I mean, I'd be on high alert. That's the easy switch that Kyle Korver and J.R. Smith could have had right there. But the bottom line is, moving forward, I'm in big concern because it takes LeBron to have almost 50 for you guys to win by 3.
Yeah. Yeah, LeBron and Kevin Love, who hurt his thumb, x-rays were negative on that. It looks like he's going to play as a non-shooting hand, the hand that he broke. They took 40 shots. The rest of the team took 33. Conversely, I said earlier, if I'm the Pacers, I'm going back to Indiana saying, you know what? We got the split, which is what you want to do. And even the game we lost, don't feel too bad about the way it went.
No, if I'm Indiana, I feel great. Obviously we went up there, we stole the game. We almost got another one. We're going back to our house in Indiana. Oladipo's not missing that shot in Indiana. No. And the thing about the Cleveland Cavaliers, which we've been talking about pretty much all season, they've been bad defensively all year. I mean, this might be one of the worst defensive teams.
But they've held the Pacers to under 100 points in 2 straight games.
What does that say?
Crazy.
Which is interesting. So it's, it's a little, there's not an exact science here, but the bottom line is their defense almost hurt them again last night. And how do you fix that in a day?
All right, so they have to fix the defense a little bit because you have to believe, as you said, that Oladipo and others will be making more shots at home.
Right.
But they also got to fix the others.
Yes,
because
true.
as you said, LeBron had 46 and the team scored 100.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So the rest of the team combined for 54.
Right.
Kevin Love was the next highest scorer at 15, 31 points less than LeBron. He had the scare on a thumb, but it looks like he's going to be okay. So let's assume that Love is okay and gives you 20 and 10, all right? Who else? Is it Larry Nance? Is it Hood? Is it Hill? Who else has to step up and provide offense for this team?
I think obviously we're hoping that Kevin Love plays because for LeBron, LeBron's hoping he plays because for LeBron, he's the most consistent guy that he has.
And Ty Lewis said he's going to play for
Okay,
game 3,
good.
so we're good there. But besides those two, there's got to be a third guy.
Yeah, I'm thinking off the top of my head, maybe J.R. Smith. Obviously he's had great games in the playoffs before. He has good experience. Kyle, I thought Korver had a good offensive game last night, gave him a good lift. But the other guys, you think about it, this is Clarkson's first playoff series. So he's obviously trying to find his rhythm. Rodney Hood's trying to find his rhythm as well. They didn't play Tristan Thompson. He's not a very much offensive guy, but he gets offensive rebounds.
Right.
So that's second possessions. It might be by committee.
Yeah.
Or it might not happen at all.
Well, that's what happened
LeBron might have to get 45 every night.
So I obviously defer to guys that have played this particular sport. When we talk about role players, I always hear from former players that the role players play better at home than on the road.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then the Cavs are really in trouble, aren't they?
Yeah,
Is that a true thing? Did you find through your years?
Especially younger guys. The guys that haven't been in the playoffs a lot, that haven't had that playoff experience. The younger guys, the others, usually play better at home, but maybe they felt too much pressure. I'm not sure what it was, to be honest. They got pretty good shots. Obviously, LeBron being a great facilitator.
First game, they got great shots.
Yeah, they got. He had a triple-double, so obviously the guys was hitting. In Indiana, the stakes are going to be much higher. We're moving on to games 3 and 4 in the series. Indiana's going to be very confident, as we talked about, because they only lost by 3, even though LeBron had 46. So you're going to need those guys. The pressure's going to be on them even more now because it's going to be on the road. They haven't played very well, except for LeBron and maybe a little bit of Kevin Love. So the pressure will be on them even more. It's going to really find out what they're really made of.
Carlos Boozer with us in studio, our NBA analyst, 2-time NBA All-Star. Big game tonight, by the way, in Miami. 76ers having split the first 2 games at home, go down to take on the Heat. Maybe the most pressure-packed game for this franchise in, 5-6 years. And it looks like Joel Embiid is not going to play again. Okay. It looks like he's doubtful right now. What's your level of concern about Philadelphia in the first real test that we've seen in many, many years for this squad?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough test for them. Going on the road, obviously they want to win. Obviously, we all had them picked high, maybe to win this series in 5 or 6, just because of the season that they had, the regular season that they had. They ended up getting home court in the playoffs. But if Dwayne Wade's playing like that with 2 days of rest,
but can he?
We're going to find out.
Yeah, I was going to say, can he do that? That's the question, right?
He's the one guy on that Heat team that has any kind of success in the postseason, so he can rest his body. I'm sure he didn't practice too hard these last 2 days. I'm hoping his knees feel good for him. But it was great to see Flash back out there playing like that. The thing that really worries me is Hassan Whiteside. If you can get Hassan Whiteside to give you a lift, because last game I think he had played 14 minutes, maybe had 4 points or something like that.
What's going on with that? I mean, is his style is it completely being archaic now in the league? Is it after he got that a big deal?
Yeah.
And it just doesn't seem like his style is fitting anymore.
Yeah, I think you might be right. There might be part of it, but I'm also thinking for myself, for him, you don't have to score the ball to make a big impact in the game. You can get rebounds, you can get block shots, you can be you could be a DeAndre Jordan and be a defensive anchor for your team and be all over the place. And then you can score too. But there's other ways to throw yourself into a game when you're struggling or having a tough time. Go out there, have a mean pick, go get every rebound. You could be an incredible asset for that team defensively and be a wall in the paint, and then the offense will obviously come. But when you focus so much on scoring and you're not getting the ball, what are you going to do about that? You got to do something else to help your team win.
I know in my sport, with a guy coming back from an injury, first and foremost, the doctor has to clear you. So now once the doctor clears you, normally they always say, well, you asked the player. And I'm like, why would you ask the player? 99% of players want to play.
No question.
So with Joel Embiid, if he is at all, obviously if you're not cleared to play, there's no question. How do you deal with it if he is? You just say, go out there and play because he wants to play.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that situation?
Yeah, it depends on who you are. I've been injured before in playoff series, and the series is tied at 2-2 or whatever it is, and I'm not necessarily cleared, but I want to play, and I know my body better than the doctor does, so I go play. Kobe, we've seen that with Kobe Bryant. We've seen that with other stars in the NBA. Dwayne Wade's done it before too. Allen Iverson, many guys. So at the end of the day, it comes down to him and how comfortable he feels about his eye. If it gets hit, I saw the mask that he was wearing around a little bit. But I don't know if they necessarily need him right now. If they go down, 2-1, in Miami's favor, I'm bringing him back in Game 4. I need him, but otherwise, if we don't, then maybe we lose the series, which is a series that I think they're very favored in, especially with Embiid.
Listen, can you stick around because I want to talk to you about a couple of things. Good. Okay. Yeah. We want to find out.
You just want to look at him in his suit.
Well, only if I want to feel worse about myself.
Yeah, about it.
Coming up, we'll talk to Carlos Boozer about what went wrong with last year's MVP and this year's presumptive MVP. Plus, are we not talking about maybe the team that might be the best in the East when it's all said and done? We'll get to that. Winning at sports and at sports broadcasting means changing things up.
Just like La Quinta Inns and Suites is changing up their look.
A renovated lobby that's so contemporary it even makes Golic look cool.
Yes, it does. And a totally updated fitness center that even has Wingo feeling like a workout.
I'm ripped. Plus plenty of comfortable spaces to hang out.
Yeah, this La Quinta look definitely has a vibe of victory.
So you can just relax, refresh, and get ready for your next big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com. All right, we continue here on Golic and Wingo. We're on a booze cruise.
Yes, we are.
Boozer is here with us, our two-time NBA All-Star, looking way too good for this show.
Yeah, really
I mean, this is, this show is wasted on that suit. Just want to let you know.
I thought about bringing a hoodie, but
do it next time. Bring it.
Did you see who was it? It was Terry Rozier.
Oh,
he had the half hoodie, half sport coat.
Very fly. I don't know if I could pull that one off.
Did you like that? I thought that may have been a little far.
I don't know if I could pull that off. I do like hoodies though. Especially when it's
who
raining.
doesn't? I'm with you.
Raining in Connecticut, but
well, that's that's 6 months ago. So, and the hoodie can also, if it's snowing, it can protect you from a little bit of snow as well, as you well know, coming from Alaska. Okay, so we talk about LeBron because he's LeBron and the Cavaliers, and we talk about Toronto because they're the number one seed. Are we not talking enough about what the Boston Celtics have done? Wow. They have won 2 games against what we thought would be a very competitive series so far against the Milwaukee Bucks. One went to overtime because of a couple of crazy threes, and they handled their business in Game 2. But look, Hayward gone since Game 1. Kyrie Irving not there, and they've just had different guys step up every night. Jason Tatum's played very well. Yes. Al Horford has been great down the stretch. They just have found a way to get it done. Are we sleeping on this team?
I think we are sleeping on them because there's no star. There's no Kyrie Irving down the stretch of the games. There's obviously no Hayward. We miss him all season long, but they've been great. Rozier's been amazing without Kyrie in the postseason. Obviously, Tatum and Brown have grown up right in front of our eyes this year, seeing them develop without Hayward being there. And obviously, Horford, with his experience, has done great for this team. They're very good. And despite the Greek Freaks' incredible start to the postseason, averaging over 30 points a game and over 10, 12 rebounds a game, they're still up 2-0 going to Milwaukee.
So out in the West, Houston gets the win. Harden doesn't have a great game, but Chris Paul does. And we pretty much believe they're going to be right around there at the end. Golden State not showing any ill effects of Steph Curry being out. But Utah wins. Donovan Mitchell looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And the big three for Oklahoma City go 0 for 14 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But with Donovan Mitchell, with Gobert possibly being the defensive player of the year,
right.
How much of a chance do you give the Jazz to crash this Western Conference party?
I think they have a chance. I mean, obviously, Donovan Mitchell has been a great surprise for us this season, been amazing every night, has not disappointed since he came on the scene. I think Gobert coming back in the lineup has been incredible for their defense. He plugs up the paint very well. And obviously, I don't expect the big three to, score 2 points in the fourth quarter ever again. That may never happen again, but it happened last night. And credit, Utah's defense. We don't want to take them out of it. But at the end of the day, Utah's got a shot. I mean, this series might go 6 or 7, and we'll find out in games 3 or 4 who's on top of that.
Carlos Boozer with us in studio. So obviously Russell Westbrook was the MVP a year ago. He didn't have a great night, especially in the fourth quarter. James Harden looks like he's going to be the MVP. Just out of curiosity, if you had a vote, would it be Harden? Would it be Westbrook for a second straight triple-double season, or would it be LeBron?
I believe James Harden is going to win it, but I would pick LeBron. I'm just impressed, like, as far as totality goes, the totals go. He has more points, more rebounds, more assists, more triple-doubles.
Played every game.
More steals played every game, more minutes in his 15th season on a team where they revamped the entire roster midway through, but his level of play continued to excel. And obviously, I think James Harden probably wins the award this year. He's been very great for the last 3 or 4 years. He's been a phenomenal player for the last 3 or 4 years. He deserves an MVP. But if I was picking, I would pick LeBron.
It's the Michael Jordan effect, right?
Yeah, no
Where
question.
You're the best player in the league, you're just not going to win the MVP.
And let's be clear. If LeBron wanted to, he could lead the league in scoring every year. Yeah. Right. Who's going to stop the guy? Nobody's going to. Only him. So at the end of the day, I think it goes to James Harden. But if it was my pick, I'd pick LeBron.
Okay. By the way, I think I'm with you there. I mean, look, nothing against James Harden. He's been great, but
he's been phenomenal.
If you take LeBron off this team, where are they?
Yeah.
I mean,
also,
value.
To your point, though, James Harden is playing with better players than LeBron's playing with. LeBron's playing with less.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially without Kyrie being there.
Look at last night. James Harden went 2 of 18, and they still won by 20. Right. Find me a game against a quality opponent where LeBron goes 2 of 18 and they win by 1.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen. So we've seen this before from James Harden. Not doing well in the postseason. Obviously, it's a different year. It's a different team. They cruised despite him struggling. But when we saw the flame out last year against San Antonio, and then in game 2 of 18, it's sort of like, okay, what's going on here? What's your level of concern with Harden in the postseason?
I'm not. I mean, they're up 2-0 in the series. I think he ends up probably having 30 points the next game. The thing about it is he's probably playing with the best roster he's had since he's left Oklahoma City. Like his team, they got the 6th man of the year and Eric Gordon over there. They got Capella, who's having a breakout season, probably maybe most improved, maybe Oladipo, but he's got to be in the running for that as well. And he's playing with a Hall of Fame point guard in Chris Paul. So I feel like, moving on to, and they're going to need him obviously on the road. No, clearly. So I feel him having a huge bounce back game. And my level is not very high because this isn't a closeout game. This is just game 2, which they won by 20.
Right.
If this happens it looks like we're going to have a Golden State, Houston collision in the Western Conference Final. If this happens in that series, then I'd be a little concerned.
We're going to got about a 30
and a loss.
Right. We're going to have about 30 seconds left. Is Toronto different enough to you this year that you think they can actually get over the hump?
Absolutely. They look very good. Their bench looks very good too. And the way Cleveland's playing, they're having a hard time getting stops. Toronto's a very good offensive team.
And again, let's not forget Boston here.
Yeah,
I mean,
Boston,
Brad Stevens has done he's not.
He has, but you really only think they can go so far with
Look,
without
he's not
Kyrie.
going to win Coach of the Year, but you can make a very compelling case that he should. Just like you could make a very compelling case that Carlos Boozer should wear that suit.
He could be the best dressed guest we've had in studio.
Well,
you really could.
And the drastic comparison is not good for us.
No.
So you know what? Get the hell out.
Yeah, time for you to go.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks so much.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like a whole new person.
Disclaimer, you will not become a whole new person. This is impossible. You might be able to join a gym or diet program, buy a new wardrobe, get hair implants, but your DNA and physical form will remain the same. Geico waives any and all liability if you attempt to become a new person, except a cyborg. If you choose to become a half-human, half-cybernetic organism with lasers for eyes, the Geico legal team would be cool with that, because, quote, laser eyes are pretty sweet. Pew, 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 end quote.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15%.